Hey guys, it's Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living, and I've got Shelly with Two Old Crows Homestead tonight. Uh, we have got Sean is having a few technical difficulties, so we're waiting for him to get on. I don't know exactly when it'll be fixed up, but we're going to kind of talk about the festival while we're waiting for him. Hopefully, he can get all that fixed up because it's going to be a good interview talking to him, and he's going to talk about digital privacy and sovereignty. What he's calling, I think he's calling them ghost phones and ghost computers, essentially where the government can't track you and track your activity and stuff like that. But also, before we get too far in, after this tonight at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be on with Angry Prepper on his channel, doing a live with him, talking about some current event stuff and talking about the festival. And of course, he's coming down, and excuse me, he'll be here all weekend for the festival. Shelly, go over. You got it in front of you. You can pull all the speakers up and tell everybody who all stuff.
So, guys, we are what are we, like 10 days away from the festival? 9 days away from the festival, something like that. So we really make sure that you get down to Bowling Green and check us out. So our speaker lineup for the festival is we've got William Bond, the permaculture consultant. He's going to be here talking about homesteading the permaculture way, and he's going to do a class about soil health. If you want to bring a soil sample, he can take a look at it and tell you how healthy it is. Or at least tell you if you've got the little creepy crawly things running around in it, right? And then we've got Jeff Smith. He's coming back this year to talk about Preparedness 101. We've got Angry Prepper, who Jason's going to be on with him tonight, and he's going to be talking about bugging out urban. If you live in an urban area, he's going to talk to you about how to get out of that area if you have to. And then we've got Toolman Tim, who is going to be talking about the poverty mindset. I think you're going to want to check that out. So make sure you get down to hear that talk. We've got Angry American, Chris Weatherman, who has written the Survivalist series. I am now on
what book?
10. I'm on book 10 now. I think he's only written up to book 12, right?
Yes. It's going to be sad. You're going to be heartbroken after you read the last one and be like, I got to wait now.
Well, I may get them all read before the festival. We'll see. I'm totally addicted to those books. So he's going to be doing a Q&A with our attendees. So you'll definitely want to get come and get that. He'll also have his books there. He'll have a booth set up and you can get your book signed and all that kind of thing. Bill Stormfeather is going to be there. He's going to be talking about the first 30 days, what happens when you have an economic collapse. And Forrest, the series name is the Survivalist series. And but a lot of people call it the Going Home series because the first book is called Going Home. But if you look up, it's listed on Amazon under A American. So Angry American, it's A American. But he has other series too. So
what's up, Chuck?
Hey, Chuck.
Chuck's gonna be there. Don't forget Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck's going to be there. He is going to be teaching all y'all how to build a medical bag and what you need in your medical bag. And he will have the stuff to put into your medical bag that you can purchase from him. And not only that, he will help you specify it to what you need it for. If you need it for something to keep in your car, or you need it for your homestead, or you need it for your office at work, or whatever it is, he's going to be able to recommend the best things for that medical bag.
And Thursday, when Chuck gets here, we're going to be building a stomp bag for me. I've got the bag and most of the stuff, and we're going to hopefully shoot a video putting all that together.
That'd be cool. And then we've got Amanda Blount. She's going to be talking about micro farming. So it doesn't matter how big your place is or how small your place is. She's going to be talking to you about how to grow food. Nicole Sauce is going to be doing an awesome talk about pantry management. And I heard her talk about this. Oh my gosh, it's probably been like 3 years ago. And it's one of those things that when you hear it, you're like, duh, like I should have been doing that. But she lays it out so simply that, you'll be ready to go home and figure out whatever it is that you need to do to build your pantry up where you have 3 months worth of food, 6 months worth of food, a year's worth of food. She just lays it out very in a simple way to think about it. And then we'll have Leslie Gossett. She's going to be demonstrating how to do tinctures, and she's also going to be doing an herb walk. So you can go out with her. She did one last year, and everybody loved it. Leslie is just a wealth of information, and you'll really enjoy her. Lawrence McCoy is going to be teaching how to make apple cider vinegar. And so I've never made apple cider vinegar before, so I'm excited to see what Lawrence has to share. Emily Rock is going to be there again. She's the one that came last year that had the dairy cow, and she was doing a milking demonstration. She let you milk her cow and all that kind of thing. But this year she's going to have a whole petting zoo, so your kids are going to really enjoy that. Darren Strong is going to be back doing a sheep butchering. So you want to check that out? Let's see, who else have I got? EJ Snyder and Gary Golding from Naked and Afraid. They're going to be coming in, and EJ is going to be doing a demonstration on situational awareness and talking to you all about that. And then Gary Golding is going to be showing you how to build a bug out bag. Brian and Susan from SB Radio, they're going to be doing a radio demonstration. They're also teaching a ham radio class on Friday. And if you want to come and get radio certified, am I supposed to call it amateur radio or ham radio, or is it all the same?
It's all the same.
Okay. So amateur ham radio, let's just call it that. But they're going to be doing a class on Friday, and you should come and check that out. And then Sean, who we're going to be talking to tonight, hopefully, he's going to be doing a demonstration on digital privacy and talking to you about keeping people out of your electronics that you don't want in your electronics. And here I think he's on.
Yes.
And then last but not least, we've got Chuck Peoples, who is on in the chat tonight, and he's going to be doing a demonstration how to build a medical bag. But Chuck is also going to be teaching a homestead medical class on Friday. And I'm just going to tell you the wealth of information that you will get from his class is it's amazing. I can't even begin to tell you how many times what he taught me has kept me and my family out of the emergency room. So you want to come check him out. You want to come meet him at the festival. He'll be selling supplies at his booth and all of that kind of stuff.
All right. Sean is here, and I'm going to bring him in.
All right.
It should have worked. There we go. Sean, how are you?
Hey, Sean.
I'm doing well. Sorry for keeping you guys hanging. I had some technical difficulties on my end.
Oh, it's fine.
All right.
It's the government hacking into your computer, isn't it?
Right.
We'll blame it on that. So, well, Sean, no, it's no problem. We have technical stuff all the time hit us, so it's no big deal. We made up for it. We were going over all the speakers and stuff like that. Everybody is going to be at the event, so it's no problem at all. I'm glad you made it in. For everybody that doesn't know who you are and what you do, kind of introduce yourself. Tell them your backstory. Tell them what you're offering as far as your company and all that stuff for us, please.
Sure. So, long story short, I'm going to ask you both a question, and I think the answer as to what I do and how I do what I do comes with the answer to that question. But would you both agree that we're at war right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're at war. Enemies foreign and domestic, spiritual and kinetic, right?
Yeah.
So we're at war. And let's say I'm your general in the war, and I give you, or I'm, your boss, and I give you a weapon for that war. And I say there's a GPS tracking device on this thing. There's a camera and there's a microphone. But the downside is all of that information is being fed to the enemy that you're about to go attack. And that device is connected to all the other weapons of all your other peers that you're about to go in this battle with. Would you use that weapon?
No.
Would you tell your friends who you're about to go to battle with that, hey, guys, we probably don't want to use this because we're feeding all of our comms to the enemy that we're about to go fight?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
We'll tell them that. Yeah.
So that's exactly the paradigm that we live in today. And it's kind of mind-boggling to me how so many people are walking around using these devices that are literally owned and controlled by Google and Apple and Microsoft and Amazon. And they control and own this device. You're simply using it. You have the privilege of paying them money to use a comms device that they have full access to. They see what you see, they hear what you hear. And this is how it is, folks, that they read our emails, they know what we're buying, they know where we're going, they know exactly who we're talking to, they understand everything about how we operate, which is why, from a marketing perspective, it's pretty brilliant that they've been able to target things so easily to us, right? And why it is that we can have conversations about certain things, and yet we see ads for it within 24, 48 hours when we're online, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
we know these things are listening to us, right? We know they're listening to us, but the dangerous thing is that these are psychological warfare weapons. They were designed to be that from day one. So when you understand who funded the companies like DARPA and our own DoD providing multi-million-dollar grants to Google and to Microsoft and to the rest of these companies early days, you start to understand and realize that this is an intentional programming device. They've spent trillions of dollars over the last 20 some odd years to figure out exactly how to psychologically manipulate us and everything about us. And it's under the guise of, but we can target people better. We can better market to you. But the other thing they can do is they can start to shape your consciousness. They can, by withholding information or by pushing certain narratives out to you, they can shape and move you in a certain direction, which is exactly what they're doing. So the only way we can get around this is to not give them access to our comms and our devices. And the way you do that is through using open source platforms and technologies. So everything that I'm focused on these days, and I can get in my background probably later, but everything I'm focused on these days is giving people and empowering people with the tools that they need to be successful on the front lines of this war that we're in right now. I'm out of the business because I've been awake since I was 14 and I'm 43 now, 3 kids, living in upstate South Carolina. But I used to spend a lot of time trying to red pill people, call the conspiracy theorist my whole life. I'm done. I'm just tired of that game. If you haven't woken up yet, based on what's happened over the last couple of years, it's going to take an act of God working in your life very strategically and specifically to wake you up. There's no documentary I can send you, no article I can show you, no conversation I can present to you that's going to wake you up. It's going to take an act of God. So I'm in the business now of working with the likes of you guys and helping to arm you with the tools and the technologies you need to be successful, so we're not holding to the people that are literally trying to kill us right now.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, and I'm in the same boat. I've given up trying to convert people over. If you're not, you know, understanding what's going on, I agree with you. It's going to take an act of God to get it through your head, and it's just like, why even bother? I don't put a lot of energy in a lot of people, and I've had people all the time. They're like, how do I get started? How do I do this? And I can kind of tell from the get-go if they're actually going to do this or not. And it's like, why waste my time, you know, showing you how to get into preparedness, showing you how to get into homesteading when all you're doing is blowing hot air at me. It's like, I've got people, if Shelly called me and is like, hey, I want to know about this, I know Shelly's going to take the steps to do it. And I'm not wasting my time telling her that stuff.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we live in the paradigm we live in is all convenience, right? People want to like show up to a prepper show or have a conversation, be like, well, can you just give me this thing that's going to make me totally prepared, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not how this works, right? This is a process and this is a journey. You don't just buy a raised bed and some seeds and then all of a sudden you're a homesteader growing your own food, right?
Yeah.
That's not how this works. You don't just buy a device and then all of a sudden you're, you know, off the grid and you're totally safe and secure. It's a process and it's a journey. Your digital security and digital privacy is literally no different than your physical privacy and your physical security, in that it takes time to get trained and educated, right? You don't just buy a firearm and then all of a sudden you know how to defend yourself, right? You have to get trained on how to use the thing and use it in a successful, safe way, so you're not blowing your own head off and those are the people around you, which is literally what, unfortunately, everyone is doing with these things. So whether it's your desktop or your phone, because no one really understands how the heck these things work. It's like magic, right? No one's really been trained on how to use these things. No one, people like understand, well, I've heard about a VPN, but no one knows what a VPN really is. They just think that they're secure if they use a VPN. People say, oh, well, if I use Brave browser, I'll be secure, but no one really understands why using Brave browser may be a more secure option. So I'm in the business these days of also trying to educate those folks who care so that they can understand just the basics, right? So that you're not walking around with your lights off and your doors open at night and a big neon sign that says, nobody's home and we've got stacks of cash, please rob us, right?
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of what everyone's doing right now, walking around with these devices that are owned and controlled by the enemy. But the other key paradigm here is you have to understand what is your risk profile, right? So someone like my dad, who's retired, he really only uses technology every now and again to have conversations with his grandkids and do some searching online. He's a different profile than someone like me, who's traveling the country, spreading a message that you better believe they don't want me spreading this message, trying to wake people up and educate people on this, staying in different places all the time. I'm a different profile, risk profile. So I have to take certain precautions that my dad doesn't really have to take. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So all I do is I educate people on this process, and the products that we have and the tools that we have enable people to start that journey. But then you have to take ownership of it. You have to start getting educated. And whether it's an individual who really needs coaching and help, we can help you, or it's a home, we can come into your home and we can get all of your devices and the tools that you have in your home set up, whether it's your home firewall, your switch, your router, your smart TVs. Like most people don't realize that their smart TV that they have in their bedroom facing their bed is easily hackable, and it has a camera and a microphone on it. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the thing, that the education part, there's too many people in the preparedness space that, just like you said, it's like, hey, sell me this gadget to make everything okay. And it's like, yeah, I can sell you tons of crap that you can use and you might not ever use, but the knowledge is the big thing, on how to fix stuff, how to do this, how to do that. That's not enough people put the emphasis on education and training. They just want to buy all the crap. And like Chuck with Homestead Medical, Chuck sells amazing medical stuff, and you can buy all the medical gear that you want to, but if you don't know how to put a Band-Aid on, all that stuff is useless to you.
Right. Or a tourniquet, like actually using the tourniquet. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I could buy one of your phones and one of your computers, but if I didn't know how to use it, I might as well not even have bought it.
Right.
So
100%. And that's literally what we tell our customers is, look, if you're just going to buy this thing and you're just going to try to wholesale flip over and use it like tomorrow, you're going to struggle because you're not going to really understand how this thing is working. And not that it's like super complicated. It's really not. But once you get this thing, you have to start testing it, make sure you know how to navigate through it, change the settings around a little bit so that it's usable for you. Then you start doing the switch. So it's one of the keys that people don't, that I think is important for people to understand, is that the devices themselves are stock Pixel devices. Google Pixel devices. And what we do is we take everything Google off of the device. So we rip all the software that's Google off of the device and we load an open source operating system on it. But it's carrier agnostic, which means it'll work with any carrier. So you can take literally your eSIM or your physical SIM card out of your phone that you have now and push it over. So day one, when you get this, you don't want to take your SIM card out of your old phone and put it in. You want to spend some time, make sure you transfer your contacts, transfer everything over, make sure it's set up, and then you make that migration. So, we used to get a lot of phone calls from customers who are like, I'm frustrated. I just switched over. It's not working. It's not doing this. And we said, well, did you prep for it first? Did you get prepared and move everything over and try to figure out where things are before you did that? And when they would say no, we're like, well, this is what you're going to expect. You have to prepare for this. You can't just do a wholesale switch over and expect to know where everything is. It's like going from I've got an 86 F250 stick shift, super cab. Going from driving that to like a brand new Lexus it's a paradigm shift, right? Or going back. Not saying that the device is that old and whatnot, but it's a different modality, right? You have to learn how to use a different modality in a different system in a different way. We have to rethink how and why we're doing things. Once you understand the technology and understand why things are doing what they're doing, you start operating in a different way. So that's so key, is the understanding why things are doing what they're doing. And it's been so convenient that it's like, here, just turn it on and you just log in and everything transfers over and you can just start doing what you're doing and you'll be fine. Not realizing that this device behind the scenes, Google and Apple and Microsoft and Amazon, when they control that operating system, are processing so much information and they're gathering so much data and sending this data off that you have no idea that that's happening, right? So once you understand the mechanics of how and why, you can start to operate in a different way. So what that means is you can still download Google Maps and Facebook on these things. You can still do that. But now you control what access those apps have, if you even want to download the application to begin with. So when you download something, it'll say, hey, Sean, do you want to give this new flashlight app that you just downloaded access to your GPS, access to your contacts? And I'm like, wait a second. Why would my flashlight app need access to those things? It doesn't, right? So that helps you to understand, well, the reason why it wants access to that is because it's going to take that data and sell that data and use that data. So you now gain control. So if I want to download Facebook, I can, and I can give Facebook that access to these different things. It's not going to prevent me from shooting myself, right? I could still pick up a gun and shoot myself, even if I'm fully trained on how to use the thing, right? You could still do that with these phones, but you now have control. As you're turning the gun towards yourself and saying, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to point this? You're pointing the gun at yourself. Are you sure you want to pull the trigger? Please don't pull the trigger. So that's how these things operate. And they just give people more sovereignty and control over their digital privacy. But it's a journey, as I said.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the phones that we have now, when it comes up and asks me if I want to give a certain app access to maps or something like that, or where I'm located, and I tell it no, does that mean it's not listening to me?
Yes, that is exactly what that means. You have to look at the terms of service that you signed when you downloaded that app. And it also means that regardless of whether you say yes or no to any individual app, Google and Apple, who own that operating system on that device, will always have that access. And they have lost lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit because specifically they claim that when you turn that stuff off, it's supposed to be off, but it's not really off, right? And that's the important thing between closed source software code and open source software code. When I can't see the code of an application, I have no idea what's really happening with that software, right?
Yeah.
And that's why Microsoft Windows and iOS and Mac OS and all the rest of these companies have closed source software. It's because they provide backdoor access to themselves and to our three-letter agencies for national security reasons through the Patriot Act that was signed so long ago and keeps getting renewed, right? That's how they gain access. And if you looked at the code and could see the code, and there's all kinds of whistleblowers that have come out of these corporations that basically say, if you're using this stuff, you just have to know that it's fully exposed, that they have free reign access, which is how during COVID, our phones just randomly had COVID trackers added to them, right?
Yeah.
They updated, you got a COVID tracker. So that's the other piece that's just blowing my mind. I'm like, if we really care about our own privacy and security, why are we continuing to use these devices? These are literally virtual tracking devices.
Yeah.
If you don't want people to know where you are and you truly want to get off grid, why do you continue to use devices that are controlled and owned by the enemy? It makes no sense. We need to change that paradigm. There's options available, and that's what I focus on.
Now, if I said, Sean, I want to do this, I want to get my privacy back on my phone. We're not talking about going back to the Stone Age where you got the old Nokia, where the only thing you could do is call people and play Snake. You've still got a smartphone that you can use, right? We're not
Correct.
going way back to the old Nokias.
Totally, man. I mean, I run 3 businesses off of these devices, all open source software. And understand this: Linux, which you've probably heard of Linux before, right?
Yes.
Open source Linux has been around for 30 some odd years, 30 plus years. So this is nothing new. This is like not a new concept. 80+% of businesses, the servers that store the data that run those businesses are Linux servers. Why is that? It's because the systems engineers and the network engineers and the application engineers at these companies know that they want servers that have operating systems that they control. They don't want Microsoft in there running them. They don't want Apple or any other company in there running the operating system that controls their core business functions. So all we're doing is taking that concept and model and bringing it to consumers. So the more individuals who start using this and start realizing, wow, this really isn't that complicated, this makes total sense, then it starts to spread, bushfire spread. But, I don't have billions of dollars worth of marketing dollars to go, spread this word all over the place, nor does really anybody that's in this movement right now. So this is very much a grassroots effort, and we're just going, one customer at a time, coaching people, teaching people, and hoping that the word will continue to spread.
So if this is something that I would be interested in doing, does that mean that you're going to take this and put a new operating system on it, or am I going to purchase a phone from you?
It depends on the phone that you have. If you have a Pixel phone and it is OEM unlockable, which we coach people on how to check for that, factory unlocked, OEM unlocked, that allows you to log into the thing at the core boot level and strip the operating system off and load a new one in. There's a reason why Pixel devices are specific to this operating system. It's because there's certain privacy and security features and functions within the Pixel device that don't exist on Samsung or LG or other devices. iPhones, unfortunately, their software is tied to their hardware, so you can't un-iOS, an iPhone, unfortunately. So it's really these Pixel devices. So if you have a Pixel device, we can coach you through how to de-Google the thing, and you could set all these applications up yourself. We're totally transparent, and I can get into my whole logic behind open source and why I think everything needs to move open source. But you can do this all yourself, or you can go and you can buy these things from me. There's a handful of companies that do this online now. The reason why I decided to step up and start selling these devices is because there were no owners of these businesses that were aligned in our vision and our values. The rest of them were really in it either for pure money, or they were what I like to call, your Burning Man libertarians, who I'm aligned a lot with the libertarians. I'm a Christian libertarian, but they are kind of in everything and anything goes type of, reality, which is not my reality. And so I don't want to be feeding my ammo and my dollars in supporting companies that kind of have that mindset. I'm happy to partner with them in certain levels and work with them in certain levels, but don't really want to be feeding them my money.
Makes sense. Now, we've talked a lot about the phones. What about as far as computers, like your laptops and your tablets and stuff like that? Can we do the same thing with those?
Yeah, that's the cool thing. So as it turns out, pretty much any MacBook Pro can run Linux. Your Dell, your HP, your ASIC, you name it, you can load Linux on those devices. So we sell on our website a handful of different devices that kind of work for about 95% of consumers. But you could also learn how to install Linux on your own device. In fact, one of our partners, Jeffrey Peterson, if you go to jeff.pro, jeff.pro, he teaches people. All he does is spend his day teaching people how to use Linux and work with Linux and install and load Linux. But if you don't have those chops and you would rather have someone else take care of it for you, Linux has come a long way. So not only can you load it on any device, but the operating system itself and the user experience requires you don't have to know how to code at all. It works just like your Windows or your Mac OS. In fact, you can make it look and operate exactly like either of those operating systems. So my technically not savvy dad is running Zorin OS, which is a Linux fork, kind of a flavor of Linux. He's got no issue with it. Knows how to find things, knows how to work things, download applications, update applications, no problems, no issues. And I would say 99% of our customers who are using these different Linux flavors and Linux applications on their devices are screaming. They're doing great. The other cool thing about it is when you rip Windows off of your machine or Mac OS off of your machine, if you have an older machine and it's like clunky and it's running really slow, you find that it starts running super fast because it doesn't have so much bloatware and so much crap embedded on the device, and you free up, probably a good 50 gigs worth of storage space on that device as well.
That's a plus right there. Forrest has got a question. So with an open source phone, if I'm not logged into Google, can I use Google Maps and not be tracked?
Yeah, that is a great question. So let me answer this in a different way. Have you guys heard of Garmin? You've heard of the company Garmin,
Yeah.
right? So Garmin, really cool company. What's great about Garmin is they've built mapping applications that work on the device that you're using. They're not dependent on having access to a cloud server somewhere, right? You don't need a data connection with anything to use a Garmin map, right?
Okay.
So that's important to understand, because when you search in something, all of that processing and the routing and all of that is done on the device. It's not telling a server somewhere, hey, Sean wants to go from point A to point B. Hey, let's log that, and then let's figure out what we can sell him on the way, right?
Yeah.
So that's important, because that's the vast majority of these applications. They're not logging into a cloud server somewhere. Everything is being done on the device. So that helps with the privacy and security of the device. But what I can do every now and again, because there are some really good open source mapping applications that do 98% of what Google Maps does or what Waze does. But every now and again, if I want to find like a random donut shop, downtown Greenville, which is near me, and I can't find it on my thing, and I'm like, I need to use Google Maps, I'll open up my browser and I'll do a private search or a private tab. And that makes it so that while I'm searching, Google has no idea what device and who is actually doing that search, especially if I use a VPN. So if I'm accessing Google Maps through a VPN, virtual private network, from a private tab, Google literally has no idea who I am and what I'm doing. So I can still use Google Maps. I can still find what I need, the information that I need, find the address, and then I literally just copy and paste that into my other open source application to figure out how to get to where I need to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's somewhat. I am the world's worst on technology. I mean, I can figure out how to make StreamYard work, and I can send text messages and emails, but other than that, I'm just like, it's all Greek to me. So it's one. And the bad thing is, my dad's retired from IBM, so I'm just like, I didn't get any of that crap from him. He knows all about that stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea about anything. So there.
So what? Okay, I'm hoping that you can clarify this for me. So if I switched my stuff to a Linux platform, does that mean? I mean, are there steps that I have to take to still stay like hidden, for lack of a better word, from the powers that be or whatever, like, using a VPN and all of that kind of thing? Or does that automatically protect me? Like, am I still not being tracked, or are there steps I have to take to continue to not be tracked? Does that make sense?
So there's definitely steps. So what you're asking, Shelly, is like, can't I just, or you're asking, if I just buy this thing, will this protect me? Right?
Right.
The answer is,
Exactly.
this thing alone is not going to protect you.
Okay.
You have to learn, okay, which VPN application should I use? Do I want to use? We recommend a handful, and we pre-download about 25 different applications on the phone that are open source that you can use, but you have to decide which ones you want to use. You can go onto our forums and you can join our group chats, and you can kind of ask people what they use and why and whatnot, and read a little bit more about it, but we'll try to direct you in the right location. But you, at the end of the day, have to decide what you want to do and pay for those services. So if you want to use a VPN, you get to decide which VPN you want to use. One of the key things with all these technologies and all this software, and even a virtual private network, which is literally just a network of servers that are out in data centers around the world, you're connecting through that server. And then when you hit a website, that website that you're going to doesn't know that it's your device that is visiting that website. All it sees is that server that you're routing your traffic through. But this is the type of education and training that I provide. I travel the country providing this type of training. But going back, this device alone is going to empower you to make smarter decisions about what you're doing. You can still shoot yourself in the face with this thing, right? You can still download a VPN like ExpressVPN, for example, that's literally owned by the Israelis Mossad. And then they're just the honeypot now for all of your data and all of your traffic. There's other companies that are owned and controlled by the different, three-letter agencies, extensions, VC arms, right? People don't know because they don't know how to follow the money and look into this. We try to do that for people so that they understand here's some safe options for you that are not going to be tracking you, that are controlled by and owned by entities that really don't have your best interests at heart. But you're going to have to learn how to navigate and use these things. Simple thing like Facebook. People are like, well, can I still chat and can I still use Facebook? Totally. You totally can. We're like, well, how do I remain anonymous while using Facebook? That's a whole different conversation, right? That's a whole different conversation. One of the easiest ways to at least not have Facebook embedded on your device is simply go to facebook.com through your browser. Most people don't even think to do that because every time most people are just like, well, every time I go to facebook.com on my phone, it wants me to download the mobile app and just click ignore, just make it go away. You can still log into Facebook and you can still do what you need to do. And that browser is a firewall basically between your device and Facebook. So Facebook can't see and monitor everything that's going on your device. You don't have to give it access to your GPS and your contacts and all these other things. You can simply use it through the browser. But if you log into Facebook, it knows that Shelly just logged into her I'm not saying you have a Facebook account, but if you do, it knows that Shelly just logged into her Facebook account at this time on this day, and it knows what you're doing on Facebook. This device, again, isn't going to prevent you from doing that. You can still do that from here, but you now will know what Facebook is trying to access on your device. And we want to teach you and train you to stop using Facebook, first of all. But if you're going to use it, here's a smarter way that you can use it.
Gotcha.
All right. Miss Sharon has got a question. If a website is on a Linux server, does that mean that Google and or Microsoft cannot take down for the content?
That's a complicated question because it depends. Guess what? Google and Microsoft run Linux servers.
It depends.
Yeah. Google and Microsoft run Linux servers. Okay. So you could have your website hosted with Google or with Amazon Web Services or with whoever, and they could still easily flip you off. So I think I'd have to better understand what really that question's getting at for me to answer that. It really depends. So there's hosting. So let me backtrack because I didn't give you my background. I come from the data center industry. So the physical buildings where all the servers live, where all the data sit on that run the brave new digital world that we live in. That's my background. I used to work for the different data center owner operators and hosting companies and network and security companies. And it became very obvious to me, working in Silicon Valley for as long as I did, that the people who owned these businesses, I just followed the money. My dad, when I was 14, made me watch all the VHS series of The Creature from Jekyll Island, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard of, right? So I learned about money and currency and the international banking cabal since I was 14. So all I learned, follow the money. Look at the ethos of the people that have the money, and you'll start to understand what their modus operandi is and how they're going to operate their businesses. And when it became obvious that the BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Berkshire Hathaways, and the other globalist actors who were involved with the World Economic Forum and some of these other United Nations and other groups that are truly trying to dissolve nation states and enslave humanity and depopulation agenda. This is the money that is coming into these companies that literally own these assets. It became obvious that they were going to be kicking conservative content offline and any two-way content offline, right? Yeah. Obvious that this was going to be happening. I was screaming at all my friends that had these websites that had this content, said, you guys need to get off of these platforms and migrate over to companies that actually control and own these facilities and these servers that are on the same team. that will literally fight to the death to defend our First Amendment and our Second Amendment and all of our amendments, right? All of our Constitution, who actually understand what our Constitution is, right? And that we give government the rights. The government doesn't give us the rights, right?
Yeah.
Very few people, unfortunately, in America even understand that concept. But point being, that's my background. That's what I was working with. And I was screaming and yelling at these people, you need to do this. They said, Sean, you're crazy. We have the First Amendment here in America. There's no way these companies can do it. It's unconstitutional. There's no way. And then Parler, remember when Parler got deplatformed from Amazon Web Services after J6?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's when the lightning bolt hit. And people said, oh my gosh, you were right. This is going to happen. And swaths of people disappeared from Facebook, from LinkedIn,
Yep.
from Twitter, from all these different platforms, right? That's when people realized, holy crap, this is they said that what that person was doing, people who were getting deplatformed, were doing was a violation of the terms of service, even though it wasn't a violation of terms of service. But when you actually read the terms of service, you realize that violation of terms of service could be whatever they want it to be. They could make it up to make it whatever the heck they want it to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not specific about it at all.
Right. So that's really where, I started taking action and started helping to build these networks and these companies that help to host the data from companies that have a narrative and have a mindset and an ethos that is our ethos, which is, Christian conservative, awake, right? Not wanting to be enslaved, libertarian minded type of content. They don't want us to exist, because the more we share these ideas and push these ideas out there and wake people up, the harder it is for them to control the population. And we're literally living through those times right now. We could talk about TikTok and the whole garbage that's going on right now in DC, but it's mind-blowing, because I truly believe as we're getting closer and closer to this upcoming election, I'm not even sure we're going to make it to this upcoming election. I think they're going to create so much chaos and havoc that it's going to make it impossible for us to even determine who the real winner is for this new election. But the Jekyll's against the wall right now, and it's thrashing out every which way it can to try to prevent people from living free and sovereign right now.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Shelley.
I was just going to say, we got a couple of questions, so go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Oh no, I agree with you about as far as the elections. I don't even know if we'll make it to them or not. That they're going to throw something up there.
So the question is, what is the price of the phone? It ranges from $400 on the low end up to $750 on the high end. There's 3 Pixel phones that we offer on our site. One is a 5A, one is a 6, and one is a 7 Pro. Kind of hit different price points and different modalities of what people want to use. I use a 5A. I run 3 businesses off of this phone. It works totally fine for me. Some people want a fancier camera and they like the aesthetic of the newer, nicer thing. So we have those options. But I have, customers approach me and say, hey, I just have one right now. They want 2 they want 2 Pixel 8 Pros with 256 gigs of storage on it. That means I have to go out and I have to get a custom order for that from the different suppliers that I work with. So happy to do that. We do those one-offs for customers all the time.
So Miss Sharon was the one who asked about the Linux platform, and I think her concern was that she has a website on GoDaddy. And
get off GoDaddy. GoDaddy is one of the wokest of the woke. They've bought all into DEI, and they're no bueno. Again, look at the equity ownership of that business, and look at the ethos of those people. They are no bueno. So there's a lot of different companies that I would recommend. If you're a developer and you just need like an Amazon Web Services, like scale up and scale down resources on demand, check out American Cloud. My former COO, who's brother from another mother, who's basically godfather to my kids, he's the CEO of that company, AmericanCloud.com. There's another company called Liberation Tech, liberationtek.com. They're basically the GoDaddy equivalent that can help you with the migration of your website, one-to-one over. There's another one called Patmos Hosting, Patmos Hosting, also like a GoDaddy alternative. There's all kinds of email alternatives that are out there, from StartMail to PaxMail. But this is really where my specialty and forte has been, is trying to find these corollaries what software, what technologies, what companies exist that can do all the stuff that we need to do to be productive in our businesses and in our lives, but that are not owned by people who are literally trying to kill us right now, or that are just oblivious and just doing whatever their bosses tell them to do. And we're feeding dollars to companies that are not on the same team.
So, what is your opinion about Foxhole and Piled or Pilled? Is that pot? I guess it's Pilled.
I'm looking them up right now. I don't know what Foxhole and or Pilled are. Yeah, I can't.
Maybe browsers.
Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer. Might be Pilled.net, open source network for free speech and expression. Pilled looks like it's a kind of like a YouTube alternative. I don't know who's behind it, so I can't really comment on that.
She says it's sort of like YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I can't really comment. I don't know who's behind those organizations, but I would look at who's behind it. Not a huge fan of Rumble. Serves a purpose right now, but follow the money. Look at the ethos of the people behind Rumble. And you can say, well, Bongino's behind Rumble. Well, he's a minority investor behind Rumble. Yeah. Look at Peter Thiel, if you know who Peter Thiel is. Look at Peter Thiel's background. Look at his ethos. Why did he attend the last Bilderberg group, and why has he gone to the last two of those meetings? I think that he's not the conservative that people think he is, despite the fact that he puts money behind Trump and whatnot. But Rumble serves a purpose right now. So sometimes you have to use things even though they're not 100% aligned with what you like Twitter. People ask me, well, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk? I think Elon Musk is the same, Burning Man libertarian. He's a diehard libertarian. I think he truly believes in free speech. I think because he's a father of many kids, he has started to, gain that perspective that parents have about he's understanding unconditional love and what that is and how that shapes your worldview. So I think he is to some degree working on a similar team as we are, but there's still a lot of things that he's allowing to let happen and that I see him doing where I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. So.
And that's the bad thing. Like Rumble, you hear so many people. It's like, especially in the YouTube thing, it's like, well, YouTube won't let me do this, and everybody's like, go to Rumble, go to Rumble. There's not anybody on Rumble hardly. You take some of these huge YouTube channels, they've got Rumble accounts, and you take somebody that's got 200,000 people on YouTube, and they've got like 200 on Rumble, and it's like, I'm there, but nobody goes over and watches it.
Right, but this is the chicken and the egg, right? So are we going to continue to stay on Facebook? Are we going to continue to use Facebook? Are we going to continue to stay on YouTube and continue to stay on YouTube, despite the fact that we know that these companies are abetting child trafficking, that they're using our dollars literally to support candidates and causes that are trying to kill us? Mm-hmm. Like for me, you have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, right? Yeah. You have to say enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I try to give people the corollaries, right? So COVID, right? A business that you used to frequent all the time. They had your favorite products, but you couldn't shop there unless you wore a mask.
Yep.
And they would force you to wear a mask. Do you comply? Do you say, okay, fine, I'll wear the mask because I really want to buy this thing? Or do you say no? Or your job, right? Well, I'm in a job. I really like my job, but they're forcing me to get vaccinated. They're forcing me to take the jab. At some point, you have to say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to stop. Right. I need to get off. And this is key. And I don't know if you guys are both Christians or not, but I am, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the conversation that I know I've had with my Lord and Savior is this. Sean, you know exactly what I put you on this earth to accomplish. You were called to be a saint. You were called to mirror the lives of the apostles and to die for me if needed, right? And to preach truth in love on a daily basis and have your actions follow your words, right? So if we are living in a paradigm where we're too afraid to actually stand in conviction and preach truth and love to people, then we're literally going to have a conversation with our God when we pass away that goes like this. Hey, God, I know that you called me to do these things, that you told me to do these things, but I didn't do it because I was afraid. And God is going to look at you and say, you have me on your team.
Yeah.
Me, Lord of Lords, King of Kings, raises the dead, moves mountains. And you're telling me you were afraid?
Yep.
You were afraid. You
Right.
don't know me. You clearly don't know me. I never knew you, right? That is the conversation that is going to be had with many Christians out there right now who just comply because they want to go along to play along. They don't want to make waves. They don't want to cause trouble. If we are called to be saints and live the lives of the apostles, how many saints and apostles do you know that live comfy, happy, honky-donkey lives?
Yeah. Exactly.
None of them. Not a single one. They were
Right.
on the front lines of this war, preaching truth and love to the degree that they were executed. They were martyred for their faith. Every single one of them. So if you're not out there preaching truth and love and you're not getting pushback and resistance in some way, shape, or form, you're probably not living your faith. You're probably not doing something right? So I think these are the hard conversations that people need to have with themselves and with their Lord and Savior ASAP. We're coming into these times where you have to have that conversation. We're well past the time of just sitting back and saying, well, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to make waves. You have to get in people's faces and you have to start preaching the truth.
Oh yeah. The little local diner right down the road from me, I've been eating there since I was 14 years old. They pulled all the COVID crap and kicked me out twice. And I have not been back since. They're like, you have to wear a mask. I'm like, did I wake up? They're like, let me see your papers if you're medically exempt. And I was like, I woke up in the United States. This is not Nazi Germany. Right. And they're like, you can't come back. And I was like, that's cool. I'm not coming back. And I've not set foot in that place since then. And then I'm a general contractor. One of the doctor's offices called me and they're like, hey, we're doing a remodel. We want you to do some work. So I came strolling in, no mask, no nothing. And they're like, here, you got to wear this mask, Jason, and do this and comply. And I'm like, I sat down with the owner and I said, I'm not playing. I said, if you want me to do the job, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not doing any of this crap, wearing gloves and all this crap. I said, so you decide now, it's nut cutting time. Do you want me to do this job or not? And he goes, I want you to do it. And I was like, okay, cool. We're not going to have this conversation again. So we did the job, and I never wore a mask in that place. And, of course, you get all these weird looks, but I'm just like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I get in return is a lot of people make a living online. They make a living through Facebook. They make a living through YouTube. They make a living through all these things. So I get it, right? But really, is that still the conversation you want to have with God? Well, God, I really had to work at the strip club because I was making money at the strip club, right? I really had to sell crack because that's what I was doing, selling crack, right? I'm sorry, but people have to have these conversations. They have to think really hard. Am I going to continue to use these platforms that are making people money, that are using that money directly to fund candidates and causes that are trying to kill me and fund other activities that are literally evil? They are evil. There's no way around it. I personally believe that God is going to look at you and say, you had plenty of other options that you could have explored. You chose not to because it was convenient, because it was easy. And the convenient path is not the path that we're called to be down. We were called to do the hard things. The obstacle is the way. That's how we gain our salvation, because this world is but a test, and we are being tested left and right. So those who don't spend time in the Word, and people who don't spend time actually communing with God other than when they want to ask God for something, those are the people that I find have the hardest time making these transitions. But the people who are in the Word on a regular basis, praying, working with others, praying with others, having a conversation, constant communion with God, they don't find it difficult to make these transitions happen. In fact, they find joy and bliss in the process of doing so, and they're much happier people once they get out of these systems. It's escaping the matrix. We need to escape the matrix. We've been indoctrinated since we were kids to think that this is all normal behavior, that we have to basically sell our soul to the system. And that is not the case. We have to wake up to that and start making the hard changes in our lives.
Oh yeah. So some of the best days I've ever had is working without a phone, not worrying about it, not looking at Facebook, not looking at YouTube. And I mean, throwing some music on, but yeah, I mean, just working and not having the technology and just working with your hands. It's like, this is so much better. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. But I mean, so here's one of the realities that I think is worth acknowledging, right? Like, I'm not a complete asshole when it comes to this. We're addicted, right? I don't know if you guys have gone through any kind of addiction or know people in your family. Almost everybody has. I definitely have. But we're addicted to these things. We are addicted to these technologies. We're addicted to these platforms. Again, it's by design. They have literally spent trillions of dollars over decades trying to perfect how we can manipulate people and get people to think that they can't live without these devices and can't live without working in these platforms, right? I get it, but we have to treat it as such. Treat it as an addiction. Say, okay, I acknowledge I am an addict. My name is Sean. I'm an addict, and I want to change, and I need to go through the journey and the process. It is a process. It is a journey. There are literally tens of millions of people around the world that are going through this process. We're on this trajectory right now that's hockey stick, where more and more people every day are coming on board and doing this. So you can join that community, surround yourself with people going through that journey who can help you through that process and coach you and teach you on how you can make money on other platforms. And the reality is, folks, if you're truly on the front lines of this war, preaching truth and love, you will be deplatformed from YouTube. You will be deplatformed from Facebook. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. So if you're simply going to sit on the sidelines and be like, well, I don't want to offend anybody, I don't want to say anything online that might be controversial, then you might be able to exist and survive because your social credit score is going to be high enough with them that will allow you to exist. But that is exactly where we're going, which is where communist China and other countries have already gone. They're already there, and that's what they're going to be implemented. And they've already implemented to some degree here in this country. We're just this frog in the pot that's boiling right now, and people don't even realize that it's the equivalent of that. If you can't say certain things on certain platforms without getting kicked off, they're controlling how you make money. So you have to simply decide, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to make a change. But again, it's not flip the switch tomorrow. It's not delete your Facebook account tomorrow that's making you money. It's start the process, start the journey, try to figure out, well, where else and how else can I make money? Maybe I can start meeting my neighbors. Maybe I can start talking to the people that actually live around me and have conversations with them and go to some local food markets and farms and whatnot and start to just spread my business through those means, which is how it used to be for thousands of years until we've had the advent of the internet.
Oh yeah, and that I've looked at a bunch of stuff like that and seen, where people get kicked off, and their biggest thing is you have to build your contact and your email list. So because a guy can be gone off YouTube tomorrow, but if he's got all his email list, he can still be in contact with the people that he's doing business with and stuff.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Which that's a big thing to have. But Sean, we're coming up on an hour. We could sit on here all night. I'm super interested. I want to sit down with you and pick your brain and get some more technology, get a little bit more educated, because you've super piqued my interest on it. And I know, I mean, our phones, it's a dopamine hit every time you grab it. And, you pull up Facebook and you're like, oh, good, somebody liked my post of my dog, that ate a biscuit or some crap. And that's all it is. It's just a dopamine hit for everybody. So, but yeah, Sean, tell everybody where they can find you, your website.
Sure, it's Mark, MARK37, and that's also from scripture, which I can get into at another time, but mark37.com. Explore there, look at the resources, look at our blog. I have literally mountains of video content, articles that I've written, 3-step guides to digital freedom, a comprehensive list of all the alternatives that you can use. I've got video recordings of all the live training events that I've done across the country. We have so much content that's available to help people. So please check out MARK37 com, and I'll be at your show here in about roughly a month or two, right?
No, like
like
10 days.
Oh, 10 days. That's right. Sorry.
You better pack your crap,
What
man.
day is it? What month is it? I don't even know. I just got back from a conference in Vegas, and I'm going to another one tomorrow, and that's I don't even.
Yeah, next weekend. Don't forget it.
I will be there.
So,
promise.
Hey, everybody on here. I appreciate everybody being on here. I am super excited to sit down and hear this and to pick his brain. And I think everybody needs to look into this as something that they ought to really think about doing for sure. So, Shelly, where can everybody find you?
So you can find me at 20crows.com, or I'm sorry, 20crowshomestead.com. If you need some soap, you can go get it there. You can also find us on YouTube. We have a channel on YouTube. But you want to go check out our website. That is KentuckySustainableLiving.com. You can get tickets for the event. It's next weekend, the 23rd and 24th of March. So go check out. We have all the speakers on there, all the demonstrators. Any information that you need will be on the website. Also, if you tickets are $35, but if you use coupon code email25, you can get them for $25. So go get your tickets now and be at the festival, and you'll be able to sit down with Sean and talk to him and find out, because I mean, my mind is just a little blown right now. And there's like so many rabbit holes with what you're talking about and everything. And it's kind of overwhelming, I guess. But if you're interested in this, Sean can point you in the right direction, what to go. I'm looking at his website right now, and he's got products on there and resources and a blog and all of that kind of stuff. So go check out mark37.com.
All right. I'm Jason. You can find me on YouTube at Kentucky Sustainable Living. We're also on the website, KentuckySustainableLiving.com. And we will be back next Thursday for sure, probably live with William and Chuck right before the festival. So stay tuned for that. And we will see y'all next Thursday. Good night.
Bless you guys. Thank you.